Welcome to the deep dive. We try to cut through the noise here, really get to the heart of complex topics. Today, we're plunging into a part of India's freedom struggle that, well, it often gets overlooked, but it's deeply interconnected. Our mission. It's simple, really. To give you a shortcut, a way to get properly informed about the Gadar party, the Anushilan samiti, and this key figure, Rashbehari Bose. We want to show how these movements, some abroad, some at home, were actually working towards, well, the same audacious goal: Indian independence. And just so you know where we're coming from, our insights today are drawn from some really rich sources. We've got excerpts from the YouTube channel Desh Osuhas and also the book Rashbehari Bose's Life and Collected Works, which was edited by Asitaf Das. Really fascinating stuff. So the big question, I guess, is how did these revolutionary groups operating miles apart become this surprisingly unified force? And what connections, maybe hidden ones, might we uncover? Okay, let's unpack this. Let's kick things off with the Gadar party. The name itself, Gadar, well, it means rebellion.
Right, it tells you pretty much everything straight away.
Exactly. It signals the purpose. An international movement started by Indians living overseas, specifically to overthrow British rule back home. But, how did an idea like that actually take shape?
It's actually quite remarkable when you look at it. Initially, it had a more formal name, the Pacific Coast Hindustan Association. And it wasn't just talk, it was formally inaugurated July 15, 1913 in Astoria, Oregon. So right there in the U.S.
In the U.S., wow.
Yeah. And their ambition right from the start was incredibly far-reaching.
And, the core of its early drive was this really defiant figure, Lala Hardayal. His own story is powerful.
Well, no, absolutely.
He leaves Delhi, 1905, goes to Oxford on a government scholarship, something most people would jump at.
The conventional path.
But then in this incredibly bold move, he just openly denounces the English education system, sends back the scholarship money.
Returns the money, yeah.
And comes back to India to start his own school in Lahore in 1908. What does that kind of act tell us about the mood back then? It feels so defiant.
It really does. And that kind of public rejection, well, it wasn't just personal. It was a huge symbol. It showed others, look, there's another way besides just accepting the colonial system. And his influence, it was immediate, especially on his students.
Okay.
You see connections forming right there. There was a Bengali student, J.M. Chatterjee, and Dinanath from Uttar Pradesh. They were among his early pupils. And before Hardayal left for America in 1909, he actually entrusted a Delhi schoolmaster, Amir Chand, to keep up the political education for these students.
So like building a network even then.
Exactly. It wasn't just teaching, it was about cultivating this underground network.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Those connections start weaving together. Lala Hardayal knew other big names too.
Right.
He stayed for quite a while at Lala Lajpat Rai's home, the Lion of Punjab. And he was linked with Ajit Singh, another major agitator who was actually Bhagat Singh's uncle.
Ajit Singh, an important figure.
And both Lala Lajpat Rai and Ajit Singh exiled to Mandalay jail.
That's the key link, isn't it? Mandalay.
Yeah. The same place Subhas Chandra Bose would later be exiled in 1924.
Yeah.
It really speaks to this shared history of sacrifice.
It absolutely does. And the Gadar party leadership, it wasn't just Hardayal acting alone, it was a collective. You had Sampabal Wasaka, Singh Dalar, Baba Jawala Singh, Sohan Singh Bhakna.
So a broader base.
A really broad base, yes. And that collective approach helped them build support.
And that support base was genuinely global, wasn't it? Indians in the US, Canada, East Africa, parts of Asia.
Absolutely. It wasn't just, a small group in one place. They reached out across continents.
And their activities. Pretty daring.
Oh, incredibly so. They were focused on getting arms, obviously, but also, crucially, trying to incite Indian soldiers serving in foreign armies.
The ones fighting for the British.
Exactly. To get them to rebel against the empire, imagine the sheer audacity, the logistics involved in that.
Yeah, coordinating that must have been a nightmare. And the British response, well, predictable, I suppose. Severe? Swift and severe, yes.
Yeah.
They launched major suppression efforts. The big one was the Lahore conspiracy case.
Right, the trial.
Huge trial. It exposed this massive network of Gadarites and, well, ended badly for many. 42 people were sentenced to death.
42, a brutal crackdown.
And that intense struggle, mostly between 1914 and 1917, it happened right during World War I.
Okay, so the war context is important.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Because the Gadar party, quite strategically, used the global conflict. They actually got support from anti-imperialist Germany and the Ottoman Empire.
So, playing global politics.
Very skillfully, yes. Trying to leverage the war to weaken the British. This wasn't just some isolated local revolt, it was operating on the world stage.
And then, after the war, post-1917, what happened to the party?
Well, like a lot of broad movements, it faced internal shifts, It eventually split into two main subgroups, one leaning communist, one socialist.
A classic split. Pretty much. But even with that division, its legacy was powerful. It remained a huge inspiration for later freedom fighters. Bhagat Singh, notably, drew a lot from the Gadar spirit.
Right, so that's the Gadar Party, this powerful international arm. But while all that was happening overseas, things were brewing back in India too, right? Equally fervent movements.
Absolutely, connected movements.
So let's shift focus now. Let's look at the revolutionary activities within India, starting with the Anushilan Samiti. How did these two fronts, the international and the domestic, connect?
Well, the early roots of the Anushilan Samiti are fascinating. They give you a glimpse into the intellectual fuel behind it. Sister Nivedita, for instance, she was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. She actually donated her entire personal library to the armed revolutionaries in Bengal.
Her whole library. Wow. What kind of books?
Not just any books. Histories of foreign freedom struggles. Think about the impact that would have had. Stories of how others won their freedom.
Yeah, that must have been incredibly potent, like a blueprint.
Exactly. For figures like Biren Ghosh, Alaskar Dutta, Bhupendranath Dutta, who was actually Swami Vivekananda's brother, and even the guru of Khudiram Bose.
Khudiram Bose. Him and Prafulla Chaki, their attempt on Kingsford, outside the European club, that's an iconic moment from that early period.
A very famous, though ultimately unsuccessful attempt, yes. And it's right around this time, this context, that we see Rashbehari Bose starting to connect with the Anushilan Samiti.
How do we know that?
Well, police found letters. During a search, May 2nd, 1908, at the Murari Pukur garden house belonging to the father of Aurobindo Ghosh, Dr. Krishnadharan Ghosh.
Another major figure, Aurobindo Ghosh.
Yes. And these letters specifically showed Rashbehari's deep involvement with the Anushilan Samiti already.
So he was on the radar early.
Oh, definitely. What's really interesting is that British records from even around this time already describe Rashbehari Bose as notorious.
Notorious. So not a minor player at all.
Not at all. He was already seen as a significant threat. And here's another one of those connections linking things together. He was introduced to J.M. Chatterjee, remember him? Lala Hardayal's student.
Right, from the Gadar connection earlier.
Exactly. He was introduced to Chatterjee by Dinanath, who was also one of Hardayal's students. This happened at the Forest Research Institute in Dehradun.
Wow. So these personal introductions were like the threads connecting everything.
They were the absolute lifeblood of the network. Seemingly small meetings, but incredibly important.
That link between Hardayal's students and Rashbehari Bose, it really does sound like this hidden social network pulling the strings.
Yeah.
How vital were those personal ties in bridging the gaps, ideologically and geographically?
And then critical.
Because Rashbehari Bose, his role in unifying the Anushilan Samiti seems huge. He brought in the Chandanagar group around 1912.
Chandanagar group, very active.
And then later, Sachin Sanyal's Banaras group, even though apparently there were some initial doubts about Sanyal, about his maybe fickleness.
Yes, there were reservations, according to some accounts, which makes the unification even more impressive. Building that trust, overcoming those internal politics within secret societies, it's incredibly difficult.
Must have taken immense leadership.
It really did. And this unification, it was monumental. It basically transformed the Anushilan Samiti. It went from being, scattered groups.
Right, different cells maybe.
To becoming a genuine all-India revolutionary society. Its influence, its reach just exploded. And as a direct result, Rashbehari Bose was recognized, accepted as the supreme leader across India. He was the architect of that unity.
And under him, the Samiti just spread geographically, didn't it? Across north and central India, branches popping up, even in Burma.
Yes, even Burma, which was technically a province of India back then. This wasn't just Bengal anymore.
So what was the thinking behind that relentless push for unifying everyone, especially from someone like Sachin Sanyal, who was right in the middle of it?
Well, Sachin Sanyal actually explained it quite clearly in his book, Bandi Jaban.
Okay, Bandi Jaban.
He wrote that the leaders, particularly the Dhaka Samiti leaders, they just understood. They realized that having all these different groups doing their own thing wasn't going to work against the British. They needed to unite under one banner, for the good of the country. Fragmented efforts would just fail.
Makes sense. Strength in unity.
Exactly. And that thinking led to practical steps, like the Chandanagar branch merging with the Dhaka Samiti during the Barisal conspiracy case.
The Barisal case, another key event.
Right. It was a strategic necessity, really, driven by the reality of facing a powerful, unified enemy.
So the big picture outcome of Rashbehari Bose's leadership was this incredible expansion and unification, allowing the Anushilan Samiti to operate as one single coordinated force, stretching from East Bengal right across to Punjab, bringing together revolutionaries from Lahore, Delhi, Benares, Chandanagar, Dhaka. It's quite an achievement in coordination.
Astounding, really, considering the times and the risks.
Okay, so let's try and tie these threads together now. Focus on Rashbehari Bose as the linchpin, the one connecting and expanding these huge movements. We've got the global Gadar party, the now pan-Indian Anushilan Samiti. How did one man manage to bridge all of that?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, his role as supreme leader of the All India Anushilan Samiti, it wasn't just a fancy title.
Right, it meant actually doing the work.
Exactly. He was directly responsible for turning it from a regional movement into this pan-Indian force. And think about the leadership that required. Mediating disputes between proud, perhaps rival groups, building trust between cells that had operated in secrecy, often wary of each other, setting up communication lines without modern tech, all while dodging the British intelligence.
It's almost a miracle of underground organization.
It really is. A logistical marvel, as you say.
And you can see these interesting parallels, can't you? Between Bose's massive organizational effort inside India and what figures like Lala Hardayal
The Gadar
and Tarknath Das were doing abroad, actively stirring up nationalism among Indian students in the US, for instance.
Absolutely. It's like complementary strategies were at play.
One leader consolidating forces on the ground,
while others were building support, maybe securing resources overseas, keeping the flame alive internationally.
So what does this all really mean then, when we put it all together?
I think it means we have to appreciate the sheer scale of the network they built. I mean, really picture it. From the United States, across the world, all the way to Burma.
A huge network.
All working, sometimes in concert, sometimes maybe less coordinated, but towards that one goal, Indian independence. It wasn't just a series of random acts, it was this complex, interconnected web.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, it feels clear that the Gadar party, the Anushilan Samiti, and Rashbehari Bose's strategic genius, they represent something much bigger, more interconnected, more global, really, than maybe we usually think about the freedom struggle.
Definitely. Not just one battlefront, but many, often linked in surprising ways. And it really underscores the idea, I think, that to understand these movements properly, you have to see the unity of purpose that went beyond geography, beyond specific groom labels, even beyond sometimes personal differences.
That shared vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A vision that was bigger than any single person or faction.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. How does knowing about these global connections, these strategic alliances forged by revolutionaries way back in the early 20th century, how does that challenge our usual picture of fighting for independence? And maybe more broadly, what lessons could we possibly draw from this for today's struggles for self-determination, especially in our, hyper-connected, globalized world? Something to think about.